You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
JD PicKell of On3 was discussing what the hinge point or the unit that might decide the season for the Oklahoma Sooners would be. And no shocker here, it's the offensive line. He had this to say: I think the number one question we've all got to ask right now is, can they protect Jackson Arnold? Because you bring in pretty much a whole new offensive line. Now, I love Bill Bedenbaugh. I think he's going to be able to get the most out of whatever unit they have out there. I trust him. But at the same time, if you can't protect Jackson Arnold in the Big 12, that's one thing. In the SEC, that's a completely other beast. This again from JD PicKell of On3. Jay, your reaction?
No, I mean, he's spot on. That's the one concern that everybody, or question that everybody's had in regards to Oklahoma, is getting that line together. When you replace five guys, there's going to be that question, right? But it sounds like there's a lot of hope out there, right? You know, Gary Hatchett is healthy, which the transfer from Washington, who was part of that Joe Moore award-winning line there and helped them, get to the Natty. You got a healthy him coming in. Branson Hickman being one of the top centers in PFF as far as grades go in college football. That's always a nice addition. And then some of the young players are starting to step up. And so, that's where we need to see Bedenbaugh prove everybody wrong. We always talk about Tyler Guyton for that particular reason. He brought a dude in that you didn't realize it, but you knew that he was a genetic freak. Turned that dude into a first-round pick. So I think, if anything, John, the question is, what player do you think will jump out on this line and really stand out this coming season to help make Bedenbaugh look good?
Well, I think that Branson Hickman is going to be that guy. The center position is going to be really good. And I think it's going to be better than what it was last year. Andrew Rain was an experienced player. He was solid for Oklahoma, but at times it never reached what you had hoped it would get to with a guy that had played as many snaps for Oklahoma as he had. Well, Branson Hickman comes over from SMU, a good SMU offense, a team that gave Oklahoma's defense a little bit of trouble in that game in early September or early in the season last year. So I really expect that he's going to come in here and he's going to help bring the unit together. You didn't have Troy Everett for much of the offseason. You were relying on Josh Bates after Troy Everett got hurt. He's a young guy. He hasn't played a lot, so he doesn't have that experience to be able to bring everybody together on a new offensive line. Well, you've got a dude like Hickman who's done it. He's been around college football. He's been around turnover along the offensive line. He knows how to communicate both with the guys on the unit as well as with the quarterback. And that's going to be a big difference for this team, because having that experience is going to help mold everything and bring it all together. Help bring Fabechi Wiwu, help bring in whoever plays left guard, whether it's Hatchett or Heath Ozida, or if it's somehow Jacob Sexton bumping in from left tackle to left guard, whatever it is. You've got a very, very experienced player. Troy Everett, he had some experience, but he didn't have the experience that Branson Hickman has. You have more than 2,000 snaps to his resume. That's going to be huge for Oklahoma. I think you can go a number of different directions on this, but is there a guy that you think, Jay, that could be an impactful player? Or we look at the end of the year and you're like, man, that guy was a star.
I mean, Fabechi Wiwu was a all-conference freshman All-American, and I'm sensing he's the guy that's going to stand out the most on this line. Look, you made the perfect point. There's a lot more experience on this line than people realize. The big problem is they just haven't played together, right? From Michael Tarkin to Branson Hickman to Fabechi Wiwu, right? Gary and Hatchett, even Spencer Brown. They've all played a lot of snaps, just not together. So getting that chemistry together is what's needed. But shoot, this line went out and hung out with Lane Johnson, which is pretty dope. But they were able to not only bond, but they would try to, they learned some techniques and stuff from Lane, which, another Sooner that had something
all
to do
pro,
with our guy Bill Bedenbaugh.
Future Hall of Famer Sooner.
Right, exactly, right. It's like the list of offensive linemen in the league is pretty long for Oklahoma, and people still overlook what Oklahoma's been doing. It just baffles me that we ignore what Bill Bedenbaugh's been doing, but I digress. JD PicKell added a little bit more, too, in his quote from the hard count. He said this: so if Jackson Arnold struggles early in the year, make sure we evaluate the context for him. Make sure we're assessing what he's getting on that offensive line and how much time he has to deliver the ball. The fascinating thing behind that is that he's recognizing or believing that for with Oklahoma, the first couple of games is going to be critical, of course, is preparing Jackson Arnold. We both agree with that there, right? That we know that the non-conference games are going to be the tune-ups for not only the offensive line, but also Jackson Arnold getting an understanding and feel how his offensive line moves. That way he could take advantage of it and get the ball to those skills positions guys. But I think those guys are going to be a little bit more critical in his performance than people want to give credit to.
I mean, it takes 11 guys on offense for anybody to succeed.
Yep.
Football is the ultimate team sport. Quarterbacks don't carry teams unless you're Cam Newton. But even Cam Newton had great players around him as well. You know, that was a really good team. Cam Newton just went superhuman that season. But you just don't see quarterbacks carry teams. It just doesn't happen. They've got great wide receiver play. They've got good offensive line play. It doesn't matter the level of football you're talking about. It takes 11 guys on offense to make an offense click. And I think they're going to figure it out, though. I think the offensive line is going to come together and they're going to figure it out. It's going to be good. It's not just going to be okay. It's not just going to be average. It's going to be good because not only do you have some potential stars in Branson Hickman and Fabechi Wiwu, but you've got blue chip prospects that have been in the program developing with Bill Beatonbow and with Jerry Schmidt. And those guys are ready to break out. Jake Taylor, Jacob Sexton, two dudes ready to break out that is going to make the difference on this team. It's not just going to be the transfer portal guys with that experience showing out and showing who they are. I mean, remember this time a year ago, Tyler Guyton had one start under his belt.
Yeah.
And then he went and became a first round offensive tackle. So anything that we need to worry about, we just need to hand it over to Bill Beatonbow, cast your cares upon Bill Beatonbow because he
place the burden on his shoulders.
That's right. Cause he has done enough. He's developed enough dudes to be worthy of the trust. And we're going to talk about it. One of those guys coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So go over there, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sooners. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. And go check out the new Locked On Sooners Insider program by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. You can get 25% off your first month. Again, for the Locked On Sooners Insider program, we're going to take your questions and we're going to answer them here on the show through the Locked On Sooners Insider program. So again, subscribe by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer.
Sooner.